I watched this movie an hour ago, and I'm still shaking. Just 1917 was directed by Sam Mendes and features, I believe, for the most part, a true story of two guys trying to receive a message throughout a raging war in World War One. I was extremely excited for this film ever since I heard it was all in one shot. I mean, like, the last film that did that was Birdman, and that was an excellent piece of cinema. And this I was extremely excited for. I mean, a war film in one take. I mean, holy crap, the work that must have gone into this film, just, it blows my mind. And watching it, it really, really shows how brilliantly done this movie is. And Sam Mendes used a story that obviously has some connection to him. I've read some things about where this story came from, and obviously he has a connection there. And obviously this was a big passion project for him, and it really shows because this movie was put in with so much effort. This is a movie that didn't have to be all in one take. And you know what? They pulled it off, and it was absolutely brilliant in every single aspect of this film. Really, just a masterwork. And the movie relies on it being in this war and being so intense. One of my biggest issues with Dunkirk, actually my only issue with Dunkirk, I love that movie, but I didn't care about the characters in that film at all. It was about the situation. It was about the spectacle. This movie isn't. This movie, not for a single second, leaves our characters to look at something. It's always so in camera and so in the moment with these characters. I really, really felt for the characters in this movie. And that's something I didn't get from Dunkirk. And none of these characters, the two characters it follows, never have a single break throughout the entire movie. And it's nail biting. It's one of the most intense film experiences I've ever had in the theater. I was shaking. Like I had goosebumps throughout the entire of this movie. I mean, my hands would not stop shaking. It was like I was freezing cold throughout the entire of this film. It was jaw-droppingly intense and really impactful. Some of that is due to the sound design that burst through the screen. It was, oh, wow, the sound design in this movie. The musical score was absolutely excellent, but just the sounds of everything, how they timed everything as well. Like, it blows me away how they actually filmed this. Like, how? I want to see how. Like, I don't know how they filmed this. There's some things, like, when a character was bleeding, I'm like, how did you even do that? It's honestly mind-blowing, and it blows my head. It's like, how could you even make something like this feasible? And they do. And obviously there are some cuts. There was one cut in the movie that was like, it was like the first cut I noticed, and I was like, oh whoa, it cut there. It cut to black for a minute, and I was like, okay, that's quite jarring. Because like the first hour that we proceeded didn't have a single cut. There's obviously some sneaky cuts when it goes behind a tree or a piece of rock or something like that, where you're obviously like, okay, they probably cut there, but maybe they didn't. But there's like one cut in this movie that I noticed. And I was like, okay, that's a cut. That was it. I mean, that's extremely impressive. This movie is a masterwork. I mean, it's freaking genius. Not just down to the camera work and everything like that, and the production design and the performances, but I did extremely care about the story, and it is extremely intense. The situation that is set up is so nail biting. It's amazing. Ever since the opening shot, you're in it, and it follows these characters for ages, and it's so investing, and it really does feel like you're there. Because the majority of the film is just a camera following them walking with something interesting happening behind them. Um, And it's so well directed in that aspect because you feel like you're walking there with them. There's some moments where I'm like, how did they get the camera there? How did they get that to that spot? Like, how the hell did they build trenches here and then have a building here and a trenches over there? It it the masterwork behind this film blew my mind, and it was absolutely amazing. But I did extremely care about what was going on. I really cared for these characters, and it did some shocking things that I did not expect with these characters that I thought were extremely powerful and extremely emotional, and where it did affect me, and I was extremely emotionally affected by this film, and that's what I'm going to take away from it, to be honest. It's not just the technical masterwork, it's the story actually affected me in an emotional level. And I didn't expect it to do that as much as it did, and it really did. This film, it's so intricate. The lighting is amazing. I mean, there's some sequences that just looked visually so stunning that I just didn't know how they would have even been feasible to film that, because the majority of it is practical effects. I'm not sure if there's much CGI used, or any CGI for that matter. I'm assuming they incorporated some into the movie, but it's so minimal that it's like, if this was real, how did you do this? Just, okay, I need like a behind the scenes now. Okay, and yeah, I was affected by this film in many different levels. This is a film that has to be seen on the big screen. It won't be same at home. I mean, it won't. In terms of issues with the movie, I really have none. I mean, it's so in the moment with these characters that there really are no flaws. It's not completely nail-biting. There are some comedic moments that all work, and there are some moments that it slows down for a little bit. I would say there's a moment where a character is introduced about halfway through the film, and it slowed down for me there for about 5 seconds. And sometimes when it does sneakily cut, it can be obvious, and it's just a bit like, okay, I could tell you cut there, okay, I've been taking out the movie a little bit, but it's so seamless, and it's like seconds worth. And saying that this movie, my biggest flaw with it is that it slows down for 5 seconds, and that there were like 2 cuts in the entire film, like, it's not even a flaw. It's not even like something to even mention or need to mention. It's just there because I thought of it, and it's something that I feel if you're watching the movie that might pull you out. But this war movie was just so epic, so emotional, so in the moment. It does make you feel like you're in a war. It does feel like you're walking down these trenches, but it never leaves from that experience. And I thought the characters here were endearing. I loved watching these characters. I really did. And I thought this film was a complete masterwork of cinema. I think it's really excellent. In terms of, it did release back in 2019. I know I saw it in cinemas in January, but it is a 2019 movie. This would be top 3 2019 for me. My number 3, exactly, I think, from 2019. I adored this film. I think it is a masterwork. I wouldn't quite call it a masterpiece. It's near perfect. I mean, it's one of those movies you walk away from and you're like, I'm struggling to find a flaw. And that's impressive. When 1917 emotionally affected me, I left the theatre shaking, struggling to walk, empowered by this movie. My heart was beating so many times. I had tears streaming down my face. This is a masterful achievement, and if you get a chance to see it on the big screen, do not miss it. 1917 absolutely deserves an A+. I'm going to give this movie a 9.7 out of 10 as well. Guys, if you have a chance to see 1917, let me know what you think down below. And of course, thanks for watching, and goodbye.